Hi, everybody. Welcome to Winning Mantras, an endeavor to ignite the spirit of competitiveness. Today, we have the national winners of RB Global Challenge 2019. We have with us Aditi Toshniwal and Abhinav to share their winning secret with us. Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining us. How are you all doing, and how are you spending your time in quarantine?
Thank you for having us. It's a great opportunity to be able to talk about something that has had a very positive impact on our MBA journey. Quarantine's been good. Learning a lot of new things, trying to adapt to the new normal, and with my work that has begun, I think I have something to look forward to and keep me occupied.
Quarantine was initially tough, but everyone knows these are unprecedented times. So I'm trying to make the most out of it. My job, unfortunately, the joining date has been delayed. I'm trying to pursue new interests such as history, reading about a lot. This was something I really wanted to do for a long time. Helping my family in household work. So I think I'm enjoying the free time that while it's lasts. So, but I hope the world gets back to normal or the new normal soon.
I think we all are hoping and praying at our respective places for this coronavirus pandemic to end as soon as possible. So, what was RV Global Challenge all about, and how was the competition structured?
AVI Global Challenge takes place. So Reckitt Kaiser is one of the leading global FMCG and sort of semi-pharmaceutical company that operates in health and hygiene segments. And every year they try to, for two reasons, is to involve the students in the masters or the bachelors in terms of the giving them corporate exposure and also promoting innovation in their product categories. So every year across several emerging markets, they conduct the RB challenge with some sort of a new theme every year, but largely focused around a product innovation, focused on RB's product area as well as solving that country's specific socio-economic problem. So as part of the whole India process, there was first round, which was the simulation round, tailored largely around both quantitative as well as qualitative aspects in terms of how do you look at business, ethics, social impact of business, as well as looking at how would profitability look like. So it gave us a good balance of both how real world management would look like, especially in this area with a lot of impact-based social cultures, social businesses are taking place. And then the second round was in terms of the regional round. We qualified for that. Second was the regional round in which North, South, East, West zones in India sort of presented to the jury. We cleared that. Then we went to the whole national round. National round, we had a whole jury. It was uh, um, shown on national television on NDTV. We fortunately won that. And the final round took place in December in 2019 in London, wherein winners of each and individual countries presented to the global jury. So that was mostly about it, and the ideas were revolved around health and hygiene. R was towards maternal health and having a product or various products, prenatal biscuits and tea, so that maternal health in India is improved significantly in the next coming years.
I think one of the differentiating aspects of this was that it was a long engagement. It started off, I think, from around mid-July. The first round kicked off, and I think our finale in London concluded somewhere in the second week of December. So it was a fairly, I think, about roughly 5 months of engagement. And in the course of the competition, you also get to interact and work one-on-one with mentors that each team is mapped with, and these mentors are usually senior marketing people, strategy people from the company who really help you refine your ideas. So it's about coming up with an innovation on an existing Reckitt Benckiser brand, ensuring that not only does your idea fulfill your business objectives, but also has a social purpose that it has to meet underlying it. So yeah, that's.
All right, okay. So walk us through the entire process of coming up with an idea and working through your strategy. How was it, and how many iterations did you have to go through to finally finalize and shortlist one idea?
Basically, so we knew that it's an idea, it's business with a purpose. That is what was the fundamental objective of the competition. So we started off by understanding what are the key problems that plague our country. Like Abhinav was talking about, the competition focuses a lot on your country's socio-economic problem that you can really solve innovatively. And so we ended up making a list of the problems, and they ranged from sanitation to sex education, and of course undernutrition and malnutrition was also a theme that came up. Once we had our priorities sorted in terms of what issues we could tackle, the three of us sat and we did a pros and cons list. We looked at perhaps what have been some entries in the past in the competition. What are the ways people are progressing to tackle respective areas, and after a lot of debating, a lot of discussing, we finally narrowed it down to that we wanted to look at nutrition. Also because RB's nutrition became its RB's agenda and motto for the last year, where they've been doing a lot of work in the same sphere. So we thought that it sort of went really well with what the company is also focusing on recently. That's how we narrowed on the theme that we wanted to look at.
I think what Aditi has largely covered it, and in terms of to reiterate, we looked at what RB wants, what are the issues that exist in India, and probably what issues have not been highlighted through government programs or through private sector. So we sort of based on our research, we thought that probably undernutrition, malnutrition has not got so much of attention. Let's say a Swachh Bharat or any other program that would have already had. So we thought there's a lot of scope in that, and we saw through RB's acquisition in the past couple of years, they were focusing a lot on nutrition as well. So we thought this would be very synergetic in terms of what RB really wants to do. So business with purpose, we sort of thought we'll balance that.
That idea is actually very nice of RB Global Challenge, business with a purpose. You can always look at sustainable ways of enhancing lives and coming up with new ideas. Let us talk about the challenges that you faced. Now, once you started working on an idea, there must have been some roadblocks that you would have encountered in your journey. So, how did you tackle those, and what were the obstacles that you have to face?
We had few advantages given our background and work experiences. ISB primary takes people from a lot of work experience background, so all of us had some sort of a corporate experience and working in teams together. So we initially identified, we were all interested, we identified each other in terms of having a common goal towards applying for this competition. So team selection part was very critical in that. And once the team selection happens, then even if we look at corporate, if your team is nice, even the most difficult tasks take place easily. Then second part was in terms of brainstorming, etc. What we did was we followed a very framework or a process oriented thing. Rather than who is speaking, what is being spoken was taken. And there was, as Aditi mentioned, we looked at pros and cons of it, and we looked at the pure merit rather than individual. What we saw in a lot of teams in general, not specific to RB, is that people get personal with their ideas. So we probably were very collaborative, and all of us in terms of was able to do that. But and then the next set of challenges were in terms of having none of us are from this specific background. I had worked in Swachh Bharat before. I had little understanding of how what social problems on ground were, but largely we did not have that. So we had to speak with a lot of people in terms of understanding it. We spoke with Awais, who is not here. He recently right before the competition, he had a baby. So his wife had gone through the whole journey of it, and she was a great source of both information and inspiration towards doing so. And in the RB process also, as we won the zonal round, we were assigned mentors, as Aditi mentioned earlier. So the mentors really helped us in terms of fine-tuning it and fleshing it out to the right thing. So initially our idea might have been very broad. We made it very specific by the time we reached to the national round or the London finale. So I will say people helped us, having a process helped us, and just reading up a lot on it helped us.
Yeah. Also, I mean, in terms of a specific roadblock, like he said, fortunately for us, just the fact that we were more flexible, and like Abhinav very rightly said, we weren't very personal with our idea, which is why we were able to take all the feedback that we got very positively. But just the fact that we weren't from nutrition background, and it was in the course of this competition that we eventually realized that it's a highly regulated area, especially when it comes to infant nutrition, which was very closely linked to our product as well. So our initial idea was built on a particular RB brand, but after we qualified for the nationals and we had the mapping session with the mentors, did we realize that we left out a very integral aspect of looking into the regulatory sort of challenges, which is where then we had to uh, kind of tweak our project in terms of collaborating with another brand, etc. So all those nitty-gritties at that time, at that point of time, because we were just a couple of weeks away from the competition, and at that point of time, to just sort of suddenly, have this upheaval where you now shift your brand. But we were very fortunate. I think the entire RB support was there. Our mentor was very, very helpful. And yeah, and because all three of us were equally committed towards the project, ensured that we were able to sort of sustain through that, overcome this, and learn a lot in the process. Yeah.
Let's talk about the other presentations which you saw during your national finale. So, what was the difference between between the presentations that you saw in the national finale and in the global finale? There must have been some differences because the teams were different, right? And did you find any extraordinary presentation that or idea that took you by surprise?
First of all, I think the competition was intense, and each and every team, whether it was in India or it was in our global finale, I think the ideas were fabulous, which is why they deserve to be there. And whether we won it or not, I think just the fact that we got exposed to such diversity of thoughts, especially in the global finale, because you're understanding a problem that Bangladesh faces or Nigeria faces from such close quarters. So every idea was excellent. So I mean, at least for me, in the national finale, I think there were a couple of ideas that talked about vegetable cleaners using the brand Dettol. And especially now in the aftermath of COVID, with companies like Marico and ITC who've launched their own vegetable cleaners, and we've seen the relevance of that. I was immediately able to connect it to the finale and how I was really impressed with that. So that is something that I really remember. And and in the global finale, I think this team representing Africa came up with a great product that helps in sanitizing your shoes using a doormat to ensure that germs don't come in, because they did a study that showed that how a lot of uh, diseases concerning little infants used to happen because of the germs that were carried with unclean footwear and feet, etc. So that really for me was interesting.
All these startups very interesting. I think, more than the ideas was, I was very inspired by the whole diversity as they mentioned in terms of getting to know the perspective. What are the key issues? What issues we might find in India might be very different in other countries, and also the sheer commitment and the level of dedication these guys showed. Some people had made 3D models, etc. Our idea was good in terms of we spoke with a lot of people, we did a lot of minute level fleshing out. But what really stood out for some of our competitors was that they made working models that they could give it to the jury right then. There was one shirt cleaner that you can instantly clean your any sort of a dirt on your clothing. So that was really inspiring, because I personally, even coming from an engineering background, will not be able to do that kind of chemical reaction stuff at this stage. So it was very inspiring.
Apart from that, guys, how was the jury? And what all questions did they ask? And what were they looking in the participants?
Okay, so the jury in the regional finale, because that's also where we presented, that I think comprised maybe I think brand managers and some senior marketing folks from RB. At the national level, the jury had their head of health, hygiene. There was an expert from the nutrition side of it, an anchor from NDTV who's also an expert in the same domain, social business with a purpose. So they had a very nice mix of people representing both the company as well as the social sector, because that sort of was the confluence of the competition essentially. And the kind of questions that we were asked was it was it was something that we had anticipated, because they were people who were very, very keen observers. They knew the business inside out. So like I was mentioning in the earlier, that there was this regulatory aspect that we had overlooked once during regionals, and then we really brushed up on it. So that was a question that we were asked about. So they rightly understood that there's a regulatory aspect, and we were asked about it. And I think in terms of what they were looking, they did make it sort of clear before the competition commenced that from the people who were representing Reckitt Benckiser, they definitely were looking for a business value. They did not want us to float ideas in the air, but at the same time there was an equal half of the jury that also wanted to ensure that it's an idea that is able to solve a problem that a lot of the underprivileged community in our country suffer from. So they were looking at that right balance. In addition to that, of course, I think the depth of your presentation, I think the extent of consumer research done, I think there were these other aspects also that they did pay attention to.
I would like to add that our mentor, brainstorming with our mentor and just bouncing off ideas really helped us prepare for the jury round and the Q&A. And we did not per se think what would the jury add. We were probably thinking as if this were a real problem of it was a real problem, if it was a real project or a company, what would have been a practical challenges. So thinking from that aspect really helped us rather than looking it up as an examination or a jury round.
As Aditi mentioned about the presentation, so what do you think are the key aspects of a presentation and how did you went about it?
So in the presentation, there were two parts of it. One is the PowerPoint presentation text that we write, and then the speaking part. So we based on we all together divided in terms of which area what person will look at in terms of research, slides, etc. We got more number of eyes to look at it in terms of to give us feedback so that the presentation looks readable, and it's an addition to what we are speaking. Because what we understood through our whole MBA journey is presentation is an add-on versus the whole presentation being the final product in itself. And from the speaking aspect, we took it from in terms of who. So it was we did not have much of a fight who wants to speak what, but in terms of the strength part and who had worked on which part, like Aditi had worked more on the idea, Awais had worked on the more financial, I on probably on the own implementation part. We took up our part, and because we knew it in and out, so it was very easy for us, even if we sort of forget any line. And while preparing, we recorded our whole script rather than speaking impromptu. We used to pace it. We even if let's say the other person has spoken more, the other person used to adapt the presentation so that within the time frame we are able to do that. So we tried to work within the rules of it and made sure that our idea comes across in a very simple manner. What we thought probably in a lot of other teams is that they talk a lot about the technical jargons, etc. Though technicals are important, but end of the day, it's a business plan solving a social problem. So we made sure it is reiterating and the main question in the whole problem is being addressed through our presentation.
Yeah, absolutely. But here I also would like to add that across all case competitions, because especially in your initial rounds, for instance, after the first simulation round, as when we were selected as campus as regional finalists, it was based on a presentation, and at that point of time we didn't really have the option to pitch the presentation. So your PPT skills really come into picture at that point of time, because they are selecting maybe like top 20 presentations from so many entries. So especially in the initial stages, one cannot overlook the importance of having a great presentation, one that conveys your idea, one that is also it's beautiful, and it like he said, it conveys the idea to a layman without making it more technical. And of course, like Abhinav said, with every passing stage, the importance shifted more and more to our understanding and how well we could explain it, as opposed to just ensuring the beautification of the presentation. But yeah, in the initial stages, one must make sure that you have a solid presentation.
Let's move on to another important and yet again relevant question here. You guys are the national winners of RB Global Challenge 2019, and it is one of the top 15 corporate competitions. So why do you think is this competition close to your heart, and what makes RB Global Challenge special?
The longevity of the competition, to be very honest. I mean, ISB is a 1-year course, and in the duration of that, if you're associated with something that you work for almost 5 long months, it definitely becomes in your, and you do devote a considerable time and effort towards it. And so for me, a lot of my learnings, and when I say a breadth of skills ranging from research to ideation to making good presentations, delivering them, talking in front of a large audience, everything was a great value add. Personally, now that I'm working in the FMCG industry, RB was a real eye opener in terms of helping me understand my interest and develop my passion in the industry that I want to work towards. And it definitely did strengthen the bond between the friends. I mean, we also went together on this trip to London, and we represented the country there, which was an extremely proud feeling. And I think just the fact that we came on national television, there was a lot of excitement around that also. So I think there are myriad factors, but yeah, I think for me it has to be the fact that it brought me face to face with the industry that I wanted to get into after my MBA.
Is that, yeah, one of the key things was it, because we were 40 to 50% of our ISB life was associated with RB itself. So it was a very important part of our whole learning experience journey. And that too, ISB, we don't have an internship. We can probably look at as an internship with the industry. And it was not just a competition, I would say. It was a big experience for us. Why I felt so? Primarily for a couple of reasons is that we understood about the research part, analysis, and the competition and the idea working on. But we also got to experience what RB is. When we went to the national finale in Gurgaon, we visited their research center facility. We met with a lot of RB people, our mentor. Even when we went to London, in Slough, we visited their office. So it was sort of, as extrapolating Aditi's point, experiential learning and knowing to get to the industry. I probably know a lot about RB than I would know about a lot of other firms just through reading them online or attending their videos. So it was a very both emotional level. It was something associated, and for a long time I think forever in our life we will feel associated with something like this.
That sounds like once in a lifetime kind of an experience, guys. Again, let's move on to another question. And this is again a very important question for the ones who will be joining these schools this year. Why do you think a corporate competition is important, and how do they shape a B schooler's or an MBA student's life?
From two aspects, probably what sort of the answer lied in what Aditi and I answered in the last question, is that it gives you a glimpse of what that industry is and whether you want to pursue it or not. Fortunately for Aditi, it worked out. So a lot of people will get to know, even if you don't know, even after the experience, you definitely don't want to do this. That's a good thing. You know what you don't want to do. So that is understanding that, especially for some college like ISB, where there's only 1 year and there's no internship. Second is to hone your skills in real time. Though B School does a very good job of teaching us all the theoretical aspect, but side by side you are applying it in the real world and you're getting a real time feedback. So the learning can be immense from what the real world looks like, what your interest looks like, and also it's a good way to keep yourself occupied and learn more through this B School experience, I will say.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's almost like you learn things in the classroom, and then in a B School competition, you can sort of apply it practically. Fortunately, we had like real-time mentor feedback. We knew that whenever we were going too theoretical, he would, rightly correct us and say that, guys, look at it from a more practical perspective. So that was a good reality check. The skills that you imbibe. And the other thing is, of course, I mean, this shouldn't be the paramount objective of pursuing a case competition, but it does, if you reach a notable level or you end up winning it, I think the option of perhaps getting a pre-placement interview, and in some competitions also offer a pre-placement offer, that is also an added advantage sometimes.
Yeah, PPOI or PPI, or even would be a great resume point. Though one should not be just doing it for the resume point, but it has its merits.
What is that one advice that you would like to give to the students who will be joining these schools this year?
So I'll say tough times make tough people. So if I think it's important to keep two things in mind, that this will sometime get over, and if the new BB school students, if they keep on working hard and if they are persistent, they will definitely be able to bounce back. And even history is this example. World has come out of 2007-8 crisis, 2001 crisis, even the global pandemic. So, but key thing to keep in mind is that one is working on personal development, both in terms of professionally and let's say at a health level aspect. So I am someone who truly believes that one should utilize this time rather than taking it negatively that world has come to an end. So if people put in extra effort, it will definitely pay off in the long term.
Yeah, absolutely. Very rightly said. I mean, one just has to be positive, optimistic. I think this people who end up joining this year, and they're truly going to be the transformational batch across all the B schools in real sense. My only advice would be that because of the changing times, very very important to be as agile, as flexible as they can be, and be forward looking and keep adapting to the times and take part in case competitions because they must great source of learning. So yeah.
Thank you so much for being with us. It was great interacting with you. We wish you all the best for all your future endeavors. Stay safe, stay home. Thank you.